Entering Chicago. On the way into Chicago, we saw multiple sirens. Here's a 508, and here's a 2001. We also saw multiple train tracks, such as this one. This was an interesting line, and it was right in front of another line, which had a really cool stone bridge above the road, arched like this. As we continued closer, we passed more and more railroad lines. There were interesting cantilever crossings, more sirens, like another 2001, which there were many of. Another railroad crossing here looked just like a following one on the highway. You can hardly tell the difference between the two. Parts of Chicago are known for their industry, so it's not surprising that on the way in we saw many railroad lines. It's also not surprising that we saw trains on those lines. Here's an intermodal we caught on the way in on the highway. Finally, we reached the interior of Chicago. Here's a subway train we saw that we were paralleling on the highway. Although this train went down into the ground, many other trains were up on the sky. Here's an elevated train line that we saw. There were many subway trains on this, and they sure do rumble like you see in the movies. This is the L line that Chicago is famous for. It's their own specific subway train. Now we need to tour the Chicago streets and see what they have. Here's a drawbridge we found along the way. This drawbridge was equipped with a siren and bells, of course. They have these at every drawbridge. I'm not aware of Chicago being famous for their drawbridges, but man, they have a lot. Here's another one. And here's another major point for rail fans in Chicago, a metro train. This one wasn't moving, but we did see a lot of them go by. They just went really quick. What a great noise. Wait a minute, pause. Zoom. Is that a siren? Well, actually, yeah. This is a siren. Specifically, a Sentry F2. The subway line has a ton of these for some reason on almost every electrical box. And this wasn't the only siren either. I saw this ATI, a modulator that I didn't get a picture of, and multiple T128s. I also saw a Welland for some reason. It didn't match any of the other siren brands. It looks like it's getting to be that time. We're now in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Here's a T128 we spotted. Not surprising, since we're getting really close to the manufacturer. If you've ever been to Milwaukee and seen the hurricane, you'll recognize this street. We crept past the American Signal Corporation sign and into the back parking lot where all the sirens resided. So it looks like right here we have... Looks like that could be a cyclone. It looks like an unpainted cyclone. There's a P50 there. A P10 or P15 here. You can see the rotator mechanism of that. That's pretty cool. It's got a chain drive. I didn't know that. Over here there's a ton of Wellands. I don't know why. It appears to be a modulator. And a ton of cyclones as well. Almost looks like a Scream Master back there. Can't tell. I think there might be some... Yeah, there's a T121. I think there's a T128 back there too. And a bunch of mounting poles. We got a lot back here. Look at that P50. There's an alerter back here. You can just barely see the top intake back there. It's hidden behind the other sirens. Here's the P-50 chopper, the Cyclone motor, and the P-10 or P-15 chopper. There's also what I believe to be a mobile directo in the front display by the door. Now it's time to move on to the Hurricane down the street. It's where the air gets input. Should back up here. I was sad to leave behind the Hurricane, but I was excited to see what lay ahead. I found another fully mounted P-10 or P-15. I was then caught off guard as we drove past a Thunderbeam. Unfortunately, that brought the end to the train and the siren hunt. I suppose it's only appropriate to end this video with the sounding of my own siren at our vacation house.